Welcome to this event, Shaykh Fadhlalla's first public speech in Pakistan since he's arrived last week, and one of the few remaining public talks that he's willing to give. So I think we should count ourselves fortunate. Just a couple of announcements before we start this evening. Please do sit comfortably, come forward if you wish, there's plenty of space here in the front. Secondly, we'd request you to switch off your mobile phones or put them on silent, please. It is very distracting and discourteous to others if your machines do go off. The PowerPoint presentation that was playing whilst you've been arriving and seating yourselves is for the Academy of Self-Knowledge. This has been founded by Shaykh Fadhlalla as the culmination of his past 26 years of traveling the world and teaching, writing, and sharing the fruits of his own journey of discovery. And his work from now on really will take place almost exclusively through this academy. And it has representations, as you saw, around the world, including Pakistan. It is an online course in self-knowledge. And there will be an Ask Awareness Day on the 13th of March in the afternoon at the Alliance Française, for which there is a flyer available on the table outside in the hall. And so if you want to know more, please do pick up a flyer and join us on that day. Equally, there are flyers announcing a Quran commentary evening tomorrow. Shaykh Fadhlalla will be commenting on the verse of light, Ayat al-Nur, and this will be held at the Carlton Hotel, the President's Lounge, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Again, there's a flyer outside with that information. Equally, there are books from Zahra Publications, who publish a lot of Shaykh Fadhlalla's books, and please do take the time to look at them. And I think that is the last informational announcement. I'd just like to say that if after this evening anyone wants to participate in any capacity with the Academy of Self-Knowledge, to be of help or to want to become a facilitator or to indeed enroll in the course, please do connect with us and take the email for Ask from the desk at the front. And I'd just like to thank all the organizers and the Indus Valley School of Art and Architecture for hosting us here, and all the people who've been working hard behind the scenes. Thank you so much in advance for making this evening possible. And inshallah, I now will hand you over to Shaykh Fadhlalla.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه المنتجبين. Good evening to you. I am delighted to be with you, and I hope we all benefit from the time we have taken and the opportunity to reflect between ourselves and share between ourselves as to what matters most in this life. Essentially, we are all the same as far as our soul is concerned, as far as our inner core is concerned. We are all the same in the sense that, as human beings, we aspire to be content, happy, joyful, certain, secure, to belong. One of the biggest issues nowadays confronting us as Muslims is this confusion of belonging. What is the so-called nation or ummah or the Muslim world? What is it comprised of? We really need seriously to look into the genesis of societies, cultures, tribes, and nations. What are the fundamental issues that makes a nation what we now experience from the Western world. There is cohesion, there is a sense of belonging, there is a sense of citizenship, responsibility, and expectations from their government, and serious participation as well. Where do we have that? We are about 1.4, 1.5 billion Muslims. Where is the model state or government or rules and regulations for leadership? Every Muslim has some idea as to what is the ideal state within an individual. The individual who knows how to plug in to the zone within the heart, to the Rabbani zone, to the Rawhani zone. He or she who know how to disappear into their sajda, as the Prophet ﷺ describes it, mi'raj al-mu'min. So you take off to another zone. If you don't get that experience, your inner and outer, your heart and your head, are not yet fully connected. These are key issues that we need to address. The social history of us, of our people. We have been flung into the 20th and 21st century without knowing what were the backgrounds from which we had emerged. I was born and brought up in Iraq from several generations of my ancestors who were also born and brought up in Iraq, who had come originally in pursuit of knowledge. Because as you know, there were, from time immemorial, for at least few hundreds of years, many centers of knowledges in the Middle East. Some in North Africa, some in Central Asia. Earlier on there were Balkh and there were others. And then the last few hundred years you had good centers in several countries, including Turkey, Iran, Iraq, and of course Arabia and so on. So people would come in order to complete their knowledge of their deen so that they save themselves from ignorance, from uncertainty, from deviations, from distractions, so as they are ready to move, ready to leave this world, ready to stay longer, ready to be responsible or not given responsibility. That state of beingness, the state of wholesomeness, which we all desire and yearn for. As I said earlier, we are all essentially the same. We yearn and desire and love wellness. And this desire is programmed in us, and it is transmitted from our ruh into the remaining cosmology of the self. So each one of us wants to attract that which we love and repel that which we do not. These are the two balancing forces in life. At no instant ever any one of us is spared from this force. Here we want to attract knowledge for ourselves so as we can benefit from it. We want to expel any interference with it, any noise factor, or anything that slows down the absorption, if you like, of what is being transmitted between us. So, in that environment, in those areas in the Middle East, you found people who had perfected, if you like, the reason for which they were here. And they were, on many occasions, role models. They were not just scholars. They were people who themselves lived as well as possible in a changing world. I want to share with you a few issues of definitions of terms or concepts even before we move on. I touched upon one key issue, and that is attraction and repulsion. The other key issue is that whatever you and I experience in this world can only be one of two complementary or unified opposites. There is the good and the bad, and the desirable and the undesirable, and the healthy and the unhealthy, and all of the other ideas, thoughts, properties, adjectives, qualities that you can think of. They oscillate from one to the other. Therefore, the nature of this world is constant change. The title of the talk was, how can we preserve original values in a changing world? The world's nature is changing. You can never stop it. It's for that reason we have the illusion of taking photographs of something or an event, so as we remember. I've unfortunately also seen so many marriages that the point of harmony finished with the click of the camera. As soon as the thing finished, then the quarrels begin. The color of the house and the car and this and that, and often not enough money. So this will become the very usual thing. If you ask anybody, you are really stressed about money, I assure you, you are hardly ever wrong. Even if you go to the wealthy people. See, really, I feel you're really not getting your right share of money. Say, yes, I really thought so. That's why I am going to finish off the partnership, or whatever, or whatever. Now, the nature of the world is change. You cannot stop it. What is it that we desire to be constant or to be fixed? Why do we love this snapshot? Fix it. Because at that moment, you try and compose yourself, probably also reflect your face in a mirror or somewhere. Most photographers do have that anyway, even passport photographers. Although you're not allowed to smile anymore in a passport photograph. But that is because we are supposed to be real ourselves, no smile there. Now, then we constantly want to have access to this zone of steady constant. We like a friend who is constant in their friendship, in their loyalty. We like an employee who is constant, reliable. And so we are living in a world of constant change, and yet we aspire and love that which does not change. Why is that? How come then? What is this, if you like, discord within me? I, with a reasonable mind, can say that everything will change, good or bad, healthy or otherwise, relationship or not. In this world I will die, waking and sleeping. So yet why is it that I long for a solid so-called investment? Why do we look for that? It's only a simple reflection of that which never ever changes in me, in my heart. It's called ruh. Allah's ways never change. Allah's patterns do not change. But the creational patterns are multitudes. It is not just a simple, if you like, one-dimensional or two-dimensional or even multi-dimensional. There are webs within webs and fields of energies within fields of energies at multitudes of layers and levels, far more complex than 1,000 different onions and onion skins and onion layers interlinked. Far, far, far more complex. The trillions upon trillions of cells you have within you, the thousands and thousands of miles long of arteries and veins and capillary tubes you have within you. This is an entire cosmology that is, as they say, mind-boggling. Now, why do we want to have our mind blown off? Why do we love oblivion? What is the role of alcohol and drugs other than blowing your mind off or go beyond your mind? It's because mind is a very useful tool, but a very limited tool. You need the mind in order to see cause and effect and relationships, and so as you deal with existential situations. It stops once you reach the point of subtle intellect and rationality. Mind has served its purpose by then. It is then that you really need to move into the zone of the heart. That zone encompasses and connects the seen and the unseen. So our mind is a very important, useful tool in the world of the seen. Anything more than that, it is a handicap. Therefore, most of us, at all times, this time and previously, we suffer from limitations of the mind. That's why we like people whom we label as open-minded. I mean, it certainly is not open-brained, otherwise it spills out. Open mind. Open mind meaning willing to consider other ideas, other thoughts, other possibilities, so as you are not rigid that if I don't get this situation, I am no good, or I will die, or I will blow the world. So mind is a very useful tool within those limitations. Once you put emotions in it, then you are in trouble. You have all the negative emotions, so to speak, they are set in the mind. They don't love me, they like me. Who is you? First define the you to me, and then I will tell you if they love you or they don't. If it is the ever forgetful, the ever mean, the ever uncertain, the ever unreliable you, who loves you? Nobody does. I don't love the meanness in me. How can you ever love any of these lower, if you like, vices or lower qualities within you? And Allah has designed us that we all share all of these dark sides in order for us to move into the light side. As I said earlier, there cannot be any feeling, experience, or existence without its opposite. So if there is meanness in me, then I take refuge in Allah's generosity. Allah's generosity includes His tolerance of my meanness. Can you imagine what an amazing, boundless vista of generosity and mercy and love Allah has for His creation? Your tolerance, my tolerance, our patience, our compassions are all limited. They are all based on a bargain. Allah's generosity and mercy and tolerance and patience is boundless. One of His attributes is Al-Sabur, one of the 99 names that most of you are familiar with. There are many more names, there are not just 99. There are many others that are also derivatives and others which are complex terms. Prophetic teaching is that there are, for us at this time, for the Muslims, for, if you like, the people who had come after him, there are no less than 1,000 names or attributes. So many of them are not necessarily clearly stipulated, like Al-Muwaffiq, he who gives tawfiq. There's no such name specifically, but the Quran also declares وَمَا تَوْفِيقِي إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. Source of tawfiq is only if that frequency of that quality is transmitted and is caught. So the key issue in all of this is that we love zones, we love ideas, we love thoughts, we love transmissions that are known and forever. That is why we want to have values, if you like, that remain, that do not change, that are fundamental. The value of honesty, the value of being helpful, the value of going to the aid of those who are needy, the value of generosity, the value of forgiveness. These are all divine attributes that if we as human beings recall them from our soul, from our ruh, or from our heart, then we become, if you like, desirable creatures. And we have between us certain qualities in common that unite us. Everybody loves to have unification amongst Muslims. Unity, unity, unity. It turns out to be some big slogans in the middle of some roundabouts. Really. Or names of so-called leaders end up being airports now. This is a fairly fashionable thing to do. It is called transmutation. You see this? Now, therefore, this business of value is a key issue in our life. What is of value? What are the values that we love? What are the values we want to share between ourselves? What are the most common values amongst human beings? Whether they are Muslims, Christians, Jews, non-religious, Hindus, Buddhists, no matter who. Essentially you find almost the same pack of values that we cherish. One of which is a good mind, a clear mind. We value people who have a clear mind. We value people who have courage. We value people who live modestly. We value people who have wisdom. We value people who exercise and live by justice. Justice is a dot in the middle of injustice. To do justice to something is to do it at the right time, in the right way, at the right moment. It's just that. It's balance. And balance will always change. So what was just 200 years ago is not just now. 200 years ago they had, throughout the world, slavery was common. Now it's disguised as employment contract or something else, but never mind. But 150 years ago, slavery was so-called abolished. The British industrial movement was such that if slavery continued, the French and the Germans, who were importing many slaves, would have been in great competition. So it had to be abolished. So the church, which was the vanguard of the commercial, industrial, if you like, movement in Europe, came up with all of these, if you like, ethical values that we have to abolish slavery. And they have highlighted, exaggerated considerably the eastern coast of Africa's slavery, because it also had a big impact or a relationship with the Muslim economies. Whereas the slavery on the west coast of Africa was probably 200-300 times more in terms of numbers. You all hear about the Zanzibar blockades and all of that. There were maybe 3, 4, maximum 5,000 slaves a year. Whereas just a bit before then, 2 decades before then, the dockyards of Liverpool had within their confines, which were still left until 20 odd years ago, on the piers, they could harbor up to 200,000 slaves to be shipped. So values change. What was acceptable then is no longer acceptable now. If you think back of the so-called the European style of life or tolerance, what is now tolerant was taboo 30, 40, 50 years ago. When I went to Britain as a student, it was a crime to be proved to be homosexual. Literally a crime. Now you are, if you are in that band, if you are supportive of these